Hi, everybody. Robin here at Toadstool Tarot. Welcome. Let's see who we've got in the room today. I see M.A. the Gray. Welcome. And I see Simon of the Hermit's Cave. Actually, Simon, while I have you here, let me just verify. Are you doing a CC&C today? Because I like to let people know when you are following my show, and so I can send them over to you. So I see you're in the kitchen. Oh, okay, you are. Okay. So I will try to remind people at the end of the meeting to head over your way. I like to be the lead-in for you. Who else is here? Nine Worlds Tarot. Who is that? Kristen Louise, of course. But what does MTS stand for? You'll have to tell me, Kristen. And SCB, hi. And I think that's it so far. So I have a really weird and funny story to tell you guys. My favorite cafe is right next door, and I hang out there all the time. And I was sitting in there yesterday, and for the past week or so, they've been considering building one of those outdoor structures. I'm sure you all remember all over the world during COVID, they built these external structures at cafes and restaurants to serve people out in the open air. And then, once COVID was over, they stuck around for a while, and then they made them take them all down. I don't know why they made them take them down, because now many of them are popping up again, but they've been redesigned. I don't know if they had some sort of new regulations in terms of how the structures needed to be made or whatever. And my biggest complaint with the place next door is it's a cafe, but they close I think they extended their hours and now they're open till 7. But 7 p.m. doesn't seem very late to me for a cafe. Now, I know a lot of people don't like to drink coffee at night because the caffeine keeps them up, but we're right near NYU, and even though this is summer, during school seasons, a lot of students drink a lot of coffee to stay up and study late at night. And, if you go into cafes, a lot of young people bringing their laptops and doing their work, like an office away from home. And I just think that if they wanted to make more money, they could just extend their hours. But anyway, they do what they're going to do. When they decided instead, what they do is close at the same time, 7 o'clock, and then they would set up the structure outside. Also, I should mention there's a tea shop down the street that serves proper teas with multi-tiered trays with little finger sandwiches and things on them. Now, what time is tea time? I always assumed tea time, British tea time, was 4:30, somewhere around there. I don't know where I got that from, but I must have heard it somewhere. But this place closes early. I don't know what time they close, but I think it closes around 4 o'clock or something. So they're open all day. But then just at the time I would think of as tea time, the tea shop closes, which makes no sense to me at all. It's called, I think, Little Red Hen or something like that. But anyway, that's a diversion about how late these places should stay open. There's a place across the street called the Uncommons Cafe, and it's a board game cafe where you can come in and rent tables by the hour while you have coffee and stuff and play games. and they're open till 11 p.m., but they have tournaments and things all the time. And Cafe Reggio, which I took Simon to hang out at when he came to visit New York, they're open till 3 in the morning. That street, McDougal Street, is a kind of a hot street with comedy clubs and performance spaces and all manner of restaurants and so forth. But yeah, 3 a.m. I mean, that's kind of unheard of for a cafe to be open till 3 a.m. But I love the idea. But I mean, to shut down at 7 p.m. Just feels way too early to me. Like even 8 would. I mean, 8 was sort of maybe be okay, but I'm just sort of surprised. Anyway, so I veer off of the story from this, closing hours. They are building a structure out in the street, and when you see these things going up, it's like a little skeletal frame. It's a metal frame. I was watching them working. This crew of beefy Middle Eastern men, were building this thing. It's very entertaining to watch. They didn't have the roof or the walls up yet, just this kind of, what do they call it, a cucumber frame or something like that. It's a little like a greenhouse or something. No glass or anything, just a blue metal frame at this point. So I'm looking out there and I'm doing my tarot reading on the table in front of me, and I spread out the cards. And what card should come up? I'm using the manuscript of Initiations Medieval Tarot. And what card should come up is the 8 of Pentacles, the work card. But in this particular deck, look at the image on the card. Now, is that funny or weird or what? I mean, it's exactly the bear frame structure being built that they were doing outside the window at the cafe. So, coincidence or fate? I guess it depends on what you feel about tarot. But I just thought this was so strange and funny that I had to call over the waitress and show her. And she didn't get it at first. She looked at the image in the middle in blue, and she didn't even know. And I said, no, look at the building. And I mean, it didn't have a pointed roof on the one that they did. It had a flat roof. But I mean, it was just like that, just a bare skeleton of a frame. So anyway, yeah, definitely woo-woo, real woo-woo. And then I called over this other waiter who speaks better English, and I showed him, and he does stand-up comedy when he's not working as a waiter. And he got a kick out of it too, and he took a photo of it. He took a photo of this held up in front of the window so you could get this and the shot of the structure. And then, so I thought, oh, this is just too crazy. And I wanted to tell a lot of people about this. So I'm sitting there, hanging out. And at some point, one of the workers comes in to use the restroom. And on the way back from the restroom, I said, hey, come here a second. I want to show you something. And he didn't speak real good English, but real good. I don't speak real good English. I don't speak English very well. So I showed him, and I was trying to explain to him what was going on, what a coincidence between this and what they were doing outside the window. And he just kind of like brightened up and thought it was funny. And he took a photo, and then outside I could see him showing his phone to his coworkers and stuff. That was just really, it was just too weird and too strange and too predictable. And had I been using the Rider-Waite-Smith card deck, it would have been a whole different story. It would have been, workers working. Okay, yeah. But this was so specific. It wasn't like chiseling out little pentacles. It was building a structure. I couldn't have made this up, written it if I'd made it up. Whatever I'm trying to say. It's sometimes stuff like this just happens, and it's unbelievable. And I'm constantly telling people when I talk about tarot with them that I don't read predictively and I'm not psychic and all that. I use it for guidance. But I also say often, though, even though I don't, claim to predict things, they pan out, they bear out, they are often predictive. It just happens that way, and nobody seems to be able to explain why. That's the woo-woo part of tarot, I think, and the fun and intriguing part of it. Tarot never lets you down. Love when tarot just smacks you with what is literally in front of you. Now you're accosting hunky builders. I am. They were very hunky. Just my type, too. That's the exact deck you used to read for me in Cafe Reggio in New York. Yes. And the one I gave you a copy of. Weird. Woo woo. Gotta love tarot. Haha, that's amazing. Did I miss anybody else? Will. Hello, Will. Yeah, just so crazy. So where was I going with that? I don't know. I just thought that was really, really strange. Oh, I know what I had the rest of the spread laid out. I did a 5-card spread, and the others made a lot of sense too. I mean, there were a lot of cups cards, like I think it might have been like Queen of Cups, and the manager of the cafe is a woman. The Two of Cups, so sort of like partnership, and seemed like sort of like discussion or planning maybe about taking on this production. Can't remember what the middle card was, but then I had this 8 of coins, and then after that I had the 8 of cups. Now I thought that was really appropriate too as the last card. I didn't read it to show it or read it to the workers, because I thought, they barely understand English. So it'll be too hard to explain to them. But the way I was reading it, can I find it? I may have put it away. I think I shuffled the deck to read for somebody else, so it got folded back in. I just held that one card out. But anyway, so the 8 of Cups for me indicated that's usually in Rider-Waite, the card where somebody's so emotionally overwhelmed that they can't deal with that much emotion. They tend to walk away from the situation. And I thought this relates so much too. This was towards the end of the day. These guys had been working on this structure all day. It was still bare bones. They weren't finished with it. But I could see through the window all of them talking back and forth and giving each other orders, micromanaging one another. It's like, do it this way. No, you're doing it wrong that way. And I thought, oh my God, this is like the 8 cups, all the emotions going back and forth. And it's like, at some point, these guys are either going to be successful and be so over emotional in happiness over their achievement that they'll feel satisfied, and maybe they'll be happy with the amount of work they did that day and just sort of, call it a day and walk away until tomorrow to come back and finish. Or they're going to be so aggravated at being at each other's throats all day constructing this thing that they've had it up to here and they've just decided to like walk out on the thing. But it made me think, like this is probably a tough project for you guys, but make sure you see it through. The 8 of Pentacles is the work card, and previous to that, you made an agreement to do this thing, to construct this building or make the structure, and you really need to follow through on it. So it's like, even if emotions are running high and you need to like take a break and step away, make sure you just don't throw in the towel. You come back and you finish it. That would have been my reading to them, and it would have been, I think, sort of an inducement or an encouragement. You guys are doing a great job. You're working really hard. Don't be discouraged. Keep going, But I didn't quite know how to explain that card to them, so I didn't bother. And also visually, it wasn't as on point as this building card with the building that we're building outside. So, I mean, that was a pretty long way around of telling you this story, but it's just, I had to share it. It was just so strange. Well, Rachel Pollack shared a story. She was at a tarot conference, and where am on my journey with tarot, she drew the Two of Cups. She couldn't figure it out. She was in the Red Lion Inn, and Two of Cups had a lion with red wings. Reminded her to sometimes look for the literal, then broke out laughing. I seem to recall a story in that book where she was at a conference and she drew, I think it was the Queen of Wands, and a cat wandered in the room and started pacing around her feet and sat down, just like the cat in the Queen of Wands card. I seem to recall that story. Will never fails to occasionally spook me out. Tarot occasionally spooks me out, not Will. So anyway, there's that. Also, I didn't really have a topic for this week, so I thought it's funny because even when I don't have a topic, something will come up, like that story out of thin air. This card came to me, the story came to me. I thought, I should share that in the live today. So I did. I have no new decks this week. I had 2 new decks last week and the week before. Oh, but here's another little story. So I joined a gym. What? Well, miracles never cease. I joined a gym maybe a month ago. And this week I didn't go. I was going to go Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I didn't go Monday. I did go Wednesday. And then yesterday I got kind of sidetracked with things and never made it there. But I'll get back on track this coming week. But anyway, on my way home from the gym on Wednesday, I'm walking home and just random thoughts pop into my head. Usually after the gym, I'll go around the corner to this cafe near the gym, and I'll sit there, nurse my coffee, and read some cards for myself. I didn't go there this time. I just sort of kept on walking home. No, I did go there. But I didn't stay too long. I think I had something I had to do at home. Anyway, I was there for a little while, and I start walking home. And as I'm walking home, thoughts start popping into my head, and I'm thinking about, how I feel better coming out of the gym. Usually I'm tall. I feel taller. I mean, not taller, but my posture's better, and my breathing's better. I feel sort of like opened up. And I realized as I was walking, it was hot out, and I was just taking slow, measured steps, and the phrase measured step popped into my head. I thought, measured step, that's kind of an interesting 2-word phrase. And so then other words started coming into my head, and I thought, oh man, I should write these down and make a list. These might make good prompts or labels on an oracle deck, because I've thought about doing an oracle deck for a while, but I never seem to get the right kinds of labeling together to suit me. And also, I'm not really big on oracle decks. And I think one of the things about coming up with the right words, images is a whole other matter, but the right words on an oracle deck, I think you need words or phrases that can have multiple meanings or multiple readings, so that you, depending on where your mind is at the moment, you can look at it a couple of different ways. So it's not like one solid meaning to a word. If it's an oracle, it needs to be able to be interpreted and not necessarily dictated directly. This is what it means. I don't know if you all agree with me or not, but let me just glance here. So anyway, I started making this list, and I thought maybe I could just keep going, but you go with the natural flow. And at some point, if the words are not forthcoming, you stop. And I have it, I have it in my little tarot notebook, which I only put kind of poignant notes in and haven't in some time. But I thought, all right, let me start compiling this list of potential phrases for an oracle deck. Hi, Sandra. So the first one is measured step, and that's 2 words. The rest are single word ones. But so when I think about measured step, um, it can be a physical direction as you're moving along to sort of, but also as you're going through life, you could be measuring each step in your progress along the way, which might mean it'd be a little bit like a judgment card in a way. Measured step could be uh, measuring out your actions or making sure that you are taking proper decisive steps to accomplish your goal. So I want you with me on this. And I'm also like leaving the chat open if you guys want to suggest or recommend words or phrases. Now, I don't want you to particularly pull words from oracle decks you already have or that have been used many times. But if something occurs to you, pop it in there. I'm probably not going to give you credit for it, and I don't guarantee I'll use it, but I'll consider everything. And if it resonates with me, it might end up in my oracle deck when I finally finish it. So the second word was extend. And again, this is along the lines of continuing my actions at the gym. And when I thought about measured step and how my posture felt really good, I felt taller, as if like my spine was extended or and then also each step I took, my leg would extend out in front of me for that next step. So I like the word extend because it can mean kind of stretching yourself out or stretching yourself in different ways, but it could also mean like extend a hand, a helping hand to someone else, or offer somebody some manner of assistance. I hope you're following me on that. I can't tell. Nobody said anything in the chat yet, and I don't know if it gets too confusing. But I'm curious to see what you think. Like again, I'm focusing on this notion of words that could have multiple meanings or more dimensional interpretations than just one. So let's see, where are we? So the next one is expand. Now, expand is different than extend. Expand can be, still I'm thinking about the gym and expanding your chest and breathing, expansion, but also expand could be growth in, a number of manners. It could also mean perhaps you're talking to someone or explaining something. It needs a little more information, so you expand on your thought. So that's expand. The next word is, you might want to write these down if you want. So I have measured step, extend, and expand. Then I have the next word is contract. Contract is the opposite of expand, and that's sort of like closing yourself off, but not just contract, but contract. You can read contract or you can read it as contract. So it could refer to an agreement, a legal agreement, or an arrangement or something. Or, you contract an illness. So there are several ways to read the word contract. So I think that would be a good kind of oracle word. Simon says emerge. Yeah. I'm gonna save the chat, and then I'll scroll back later and make a list and see what I think. The next word is push. Not sure if there's enough going on in push. In push, I like this sort of physicality of like exerting some kind of pressure to make something move or happen. But it's also, I mean, you can push something or something can push you. So there's a little, it's almost like a push and pull kind of situation where it's like, what do you need to push in order for something to happen? Or, or does somebody need to push you in order to make something happen? Admit, MA says, I always like this one because it can be either letting something in or out. Admit, and also admit could also be, conceding that you're wrong. Admit you made a mistake. Oh my God, you guys, they're really flowing now. Ascend, align, near the end, arrive or become. Following Simon's thread, recede. These are great, guys, and I'm going to give each one careful consideration. Extend in a linear direction or in an auricular sense that is multi-directional, dimensional. Okay. Next one after push is turn. So turn can be like changing direction, or it can be turning something. It's like, if you're moving, you might consider, it's all a little bit like perspective. It's sort of like, oh, turn and look in that direction or that direction, or turn yourself around, or turn your mind to a different way of thinking, or take your turn. Maybe it's sort of like a card in Monopoly or a game board, it's your turn, and when it's an oracle and it's just one word, where's the association? It's whatever subconscious connection your mind makes at the time. So turn is, could come to you. Yes, it's your turn. It's your turn to turn. It's your turn to turn me around. Next one is twist. Twist I like too, because maybe the twist is almost like an adjustment or a slight adjustment, but it's also, you can be in a twist. You can get, what they say, get your knickers in a twist, or you can put a twist similar to spin. You can put a spin on things or a twist on things, or it's sort of like a torquing action where you squeeze or wring something out, you twist it, or I think there's an old horror movie called Twisted Nerve. But twist can have a few different meanings or references. Next one is elevate. Now, elevate, I'm not sure about this one because, again, you can elevate somebody else or something can elevate you. Maybe it's time to consider to do something that will elevate you. I mean, if you're feeling down and you pull an elevate card, it might be, maybe your legs hurt. Put your legs up on an ottoman, you elevate your legs. Or maybe you've been sitting all day, elevate, stand up and walk around, or go for a walk in the woods or something. Or elevate, think higher thoughts. You're reading about something, or your concepts may be too grounded or too simple. Consider something a little loftier in terms of that. What am I missing? I have to scroll back a little because you guys are chatting so much. I'm losing the train. Extend, and so I read that. Understand. Flow is a good one too. I think that's on my list. I haven't got there yet. Unbecoming. Let's see. Below. Within. Okay. Again, think original thoughts. Don't think of ones you read on other oracle decks. Maybe think of ones that, gee, I wish that was on an oracle deck and I've never seen it. Think about that too. So let's see, where was I? Elevate. Some of mine are a little more, we're getting into some more complex ones now. Encapsulate. Encapsulate. So that's kind of like enclosing within something or including something. Like maybe you're going to dinner with a few friends and you're not really sure about inviting this other party in. Could be like, you know, include somebody in, encapsulate, or maybe you're gathering or different thoughts or ideas. This is a way of like kind of gathering them together. Um, Reverse, thinking of Uno cards. Okay. Next one is another more complex one. I don't even use these words in every day. Acquiesce. Acquiesce, which is sort of like a little bit like resignation or acceptance, or like maybe you've been too stubborn. You need to acquiesce, just sort of like let it go, or um, you can see somebody else's side of something in a disagreement. The next one is effervescent. Effervescent is usually something bubbly, but maybe you need to think about your inner energy, like a drink of champagne or something, and the bubbles rising, or seltzer. Effervescent. You may not need to sort of try to artificially elevate your spirit, lift your spirit. Effervescent. Try to do something that will help invigorate you, or make you bubble over. Bubble up and bubble over. Next word is freeze. Not sure about this one either. Freeze as in stop, but also freeze as in like freeze something out, freeze somebody out, or uh, acting cold in some way. Like maybe somebody's acted cold towards you, or you've acted cold towards someone else. Freeze. Um, And then I got flow, which I think Simon mentioned before. Flow. I like the word flow, sort of going with the flow, sort of acknowledging that how many, is it 80% of our bodies is liquid, water. Um, Moving with things, going with the flow rather than against the flow. Maybe you're too rigid, and when you see a flow card, you think, okay, I need to think about how rigid I've been, my rigidity, and sort of like try to flow. Juncture is one I have. Juncture is sort of like coming to a place where you not exactly are blocked, but where you meet some other obstacle or direction. Like you've arrived at a spot where there's a change, a potential for change. So I think juncture might be a good word. And I only have three more. Placement. Placement in terms of you positioning, considering your position where you are, but also in terms of you placing things or people in a certain manner. Amend. Amend is a sort of like modify or change. Amend your perspective, amend your actions, amend something you've done that doesn't feel quite complete or needs an edit or a change. And the last one is append. Append would be like to add something onto what you're doing, add something to the steps you've taken, the degree of things that you've done. So there we go. That's my list so far. Let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. And I wondered how many cards should I have? in an oracle deck, and there's different thoughts on these. I don't want it too few nor too many. So I'm thinking somewhere. Uh, how many did I say? It was probably at least 30. And actually, I think sort of Lenormand decks are a nice number. I can't remember now if that's 35 or 36. And I think a lot of people like at least 40, 45 cards in an oracle deck. But I don't know that I want to go that far. I think probably I'll compile a bigger list and then I'll edit a little bit and think, which one of these is overdoing it or maybe redundant. Um, I'll think about that. I'd love a card that said discombobulated. Never seen that. Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know though. I'm not sure if I like a discombobulated card, but whether that would it might break the ice. You might get that card. It might just make you laugh at yourself, like how silly you're being because but if you really are frustrated or discombobulated, I don't know that would be a particularly helpful card as an oracle other than to just point out the obvious. You're discombobulated. Unfamiliarity, at least 30. One would say 35 maybe. Words may come as you go about your day and about town. Sidewalk omens. Yes. So I always carry this little book in my bag, and so I have my starting list here, and I always have a pen with me. And if I'm just sitting at the cafe daydreaming, something may come to me and I'll add it in there. Maybe while I'm here and there's so much time left, I'll read you some of my little tarot note words of wisdom. Every time I have a little thought about tarot, I write it in here, and maybe some of these are helpful to some people if I can find something. Well, actually, I've told this so many times in previous lives or chats, is in visiting Kelly Fitzgerald's channel, The Truth in Story. I had once asked her, how does one know when one can stop shuffling, or when is the proper time to stop shuffling a deck in order to draw for the reading? Because I used to be more ritualistic about it. I used to have a sort of a sense to it. And then it just felt totally random. And it's like, I couldn't tell, am I over shuffling or under shuffling? And she said to me something very wise that I wrote down and made a note of. Every single card in the deck has something to say about the situation. And I just thought, oh my God, that is true words of wisdom. And it's really true. It's not really about whether the right card comes up in a deck to respond to a question in a reading. It's about how you interpret that card. So it's like, it's funny in a way. A lot of cards can be interpreted so many different ways depending on the question, the context, and the spread, and so forth. Oh, hi, L. Phillips. Almost said elephant. It's the blunt card in the deck. What's the blunt card? Oh, the blunt card is the discombobulated one, I guess. Okay, so if you're just coming in now, you might want to watch from the beginning. There's a little story there that's a very woo-woo. And then we started going into my potential keywords for cards in an oracle deck. And I'm only at the very beginning stages of thinking about the visuals for this deck, because it could just be a deck of words and that would work, but not particularly pretty or fun to look at. So it would be nice to have a visual, but could it be a random visual, or does it really have to relate to the words? It feels probably better if it relates to the words, but if the word has multiple views or interpretations, it's going to be hard to find one image that works with multiple interpretations. I may just go sort of abstract and just sort of have some beautiful colors and patterns. I don't know. I haven't thought that much about the visual aspect yet. But actually, I think this is another good thing. One of the reasons I started my channel ages ago was to encourage other people to create their own decks for their own study and use, not to make money on them or even mass produce them, but just to have something that sort of helps open up your subconscious and helps your outer self speak to your inner self, or your higher self speak to your lower self, or whatever. And so I like to encourage people to explore that and invent their own manner of divination, if you want to call it. I don't even know if will end up calling it something like that. I don't have a title for the deck yet. I guess it will be determined by the images and the words. I'm almost thinking just rather than referring to it as an oracle, maybe like a deck of guidance or something like that, because most of the words that I picked are not really visual things. They're more like directions in terms of movement or guidance, you know. So I think Simon or somebody earlier said, "Is there a theme?" There's not really a theme, but I mean, I often refer to decks as books of guidance, or uh, guidance global positioning systems, guidance systems for how best to move through life, or circumvent obstacles, or find the best path to achieve your goals, achieve what you want, the best outcome. So those are the kinds of things I'm looking for a deck of this kind to do. And I guess that could still be called or considered an oracle deck. A lot of decks do that kind of thing, but not so specifically in terms of kind of directions. But anyway, so I got a little bit off the track there when I read that quote. I got one here written down that I heard on Simon's channel: fear, false experiences appearing real. I had to write that down because I'd never remember it, and I forgot it, and I'm glad I have it in here. So now, from time to time, my little pocket book of wisdom, I can look at these things and remember them and make note of them. Okay, there's a few here where I did actual readings and I journaled the card and my interpretation of the card. So I'm not going to read those out. They're specific to cards and readings. Let me see. I see some of these decks I don't even have anymore. Here's an idea I had for a tarot, and the suits were ladders for air, crutches for fire. I don't know why I did that. Maybe because it's something like a wand. A crutch is like a wand or a cane. Bowls for water or cups, bags for earth or coins. I don't know. Not sure that was particularly developed. Let's see. What else have we got in here? Oh, I made some notes about numbers and numerical reading. That's where my Midori comes in handy. Codex. I don't know if you're talking about naming my deck a codex. I think a codex is very particular, a particular kind of thing that I'm not sure. How about a deck of deep thought? That's why we ask. Uh, Literally going to say, how about using color? Definitely will be color in the deck if it's illustrated. So for numbers, in terms of numerical reading, I didn't make this up. I must have read it somewhere and wrote it down. 1 is beginnings, 2 is balance, 3 is growth, 4 stability, 5 challenge, 6 triumphs, 7 choices, 8 movement, 9 attainment, and 10 completion. Cups, emotions, swords, thoughts, pentacles, material concerns, wands, energy. When I see swords, I don't think just thoughts. I also think communication. So I always, you know, think it, speak it, speech, communication, and thoughts for me are swords. Also, there's some degree of aggression, but aggression almost sounds to me like passion, and passion is in the wands for me, although passion is more of wands is more creative passion rather than aggression. But wands or batons can be used in battle as well, which is an aggressive sort of action. So layers of combatants or aggression or fighting, I will put like way on the back burner of my mind in terms of reading, unless it applies very specifically to the context of the reading. I was reading with a friend the other day who had health concerns over a surgery, and we got swords cards. And I said, I had heard somewhere that swords can also relate to doctors, surgeons, and so forth, because they use a knife to cut in surgery. So that, we're always kind of modifying and expanding our glossary when it comes to tarot terms. It was fun to kind of revisit these in the decks I don't have anymore. The Gypsy Palace deck I don't have anymore. The was it Shamanette or something I saw back here that I let go. I don't know what this note came from. The fool, the lever is a lever. I mean, the lever I have, I don't know what I meant by that. The lever, the pole over his shoulder, sort of echoes the word lever, like he's leaving where he's been. I don't know, a poetic reference to the action of the fool. The hermit, the man smiles at the prospect of a star being captured in a jar. Peaks and slopes. The hermit peeks downward over the slope, so as he raises his lantern high. Some of these are a little, hardly worth writing down. But that's the thing about journaling. Journaling isn't only wise thoughts. Journaling is what you happen to think of at the time. Simon's probably ready to leave. So see you in a bit over at his channel. There is a hole in the theory that our future is in the vortex. There's a loophole called forever. You see the lemniscate. If you look closely, you can see the loophole. It also looks like a pair of glasses onto infinity. That's the loophole, or that's the lemniscate. A pair of glasses onto infinity. Um, hmm. Oh, I made a list here of tools. What tools connect you to spirit? Just a list of 10 things. And I'll probably close on that. I should keep this handy as things we can talk about in the future, some of these topics. One tool that connects me to spirit: silence, quiet, peace, and alone time. 2, fire or candlelight. 3, smoke or incense. 4, tarot or other means of oracle, bones, runes, pendulums, scrying tools, crystal balls. 5, journaling. 6, meditation, trance work. 7, sound, vibrational tools, bells, singing bowls, rattles, drums, humming, drone instruments, organs, shruti boxes, flutes, harps or lyres. Number 8, crystals. Number 9, drinks and medicinals, teas and herbs. And number 10, art, drawing, painting, knitting, craft. Those are all tools that help connect me to spirit. You might want to make your own list sometime. I did some random pull keywords for some of the major arcana: Tower, change; Sun, happiness; Magician, tools; World, dance; Strength, compassion; Hanged Man, suspension; Wheel of Fortune, chance; Fool, openness; Hermit, solitude; Empress, support; High Priestess, mystery; Hierophant, teacher; Star, guidance; Moon, intuition; Lovers, choice; Death, transformation; Emperor, authority; Judgment, introspection; Justice, balance; Chariot, direction. Did I already have direction? Temperance, mediation; and Devil, temptation. Anyway, what time is it? It's 1:53. I'm going to let you guys go so you all have a chance to grab a beverage before you head over to the Hermit's Cave. So I'll see you all next week, folks, hopefully. And Emmy the Grey, Libra and Libra. Yes, spelled that way. Definitely loving the silence, fire, and incense. Great list, Robin. Thanks for sharing it. You're welcome. And thank you again, everybody, and for your contributions of words for my list. And I will look them over and see if there's any that I can make of use. I already forewarned you I may not give you credit. You're welcome to claim credit if I ever do a walkthrough, but there will be no monetary reward. So anyway, I'm going to let you all go. It's 6 minutes to 2 here. It's hot outside. I don't know what I'm doing. I'll probably go over to the cafe and see what kind of progress they're making on their outdoor construction. And I may have more to report next week. See you soon. Thank you all. Goodbye. Have a great week. Ooh, why is this not? There we go.